Hey there, my name is Anthony DeRossi. I'm one of the pastors at Keystone Bible Church in Tampa Bay area. And in the next few moments, I just want to offer you some encouragement in your walk with Jesus for the rest of this week. I've been reading through the Gospel of Matthew lately, and in his Gospel, he records 5 important discourses. The first of which is a chunk of text from chapter 5 all the way to chapter 7 that we famously refer to as the Sermon on the Mount, the greatest sermon ever preached. Each of these 5 discourses, it ends with some variation of the phrase, quote, when Jesus had finished these sayings or ended these sayings. And so that's what clues us into the reality that we're about to enter into a new narrative portion of Matthew's gospel. But in the Sermon on the Mount, one of the things that really resonated with me, one thing that my heart really grabbed for was in chapter 6, starting in verse 25, where Jesus says, therefore, I tell you, do not be anxious about your life, what you will eat or what you will drink, nor about your body, what you will put on. That's hard sometimes, isn't it? That's easy when things are going well. When you really get into a pinch, it's hard to think this way. And so Jesus goes on and he says, is the body not more than food? Is life not more than food and the body more than clothing? And then he gives these 2 illustrations. First, look at the birds of the air. They neither sow nor reap nor gather into barns, but your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you of not more value than them? And then he gives the second illustration in verse 28 where he says, and why are you anxious about clothing? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. Yet I tell you, even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. And so as I thought about this teaching, I thought about the fact that just a few verses earlier in chapter 11, Jesus looks at his disciples and he says, I want you to pray like this. Lord, give us this day our daily bread. You know, the reality is that most of us don't have to worry about where our next meal is coming from because we live in the land of the plenty. The teaching that Jesus is giving here reminded me of a time where shortly after World War II, this Christian woman, she went into a grocery store and she asked just for enough food to provide Christmas dinner for her children. When the owner asked how much she could afford, she replied, well, my husband, he was killed in the war, and truthfully, I don't have anything to offer but a little prayer. And so the grocer, kind of annoyed by this, an unbeliever, not a Christian, was unmoved by this, and so he sarcastically said, well, write your prayer on a piece of paper and you can have its weight in groceries. And so to his surprise, she actually pulled out a folded note out of her pocket and handed a piece of paper to him. And she said, I already did this last night while I was watching over my sick child. I had written a prayer out. And so without even reading it, he put it on one side of this old-fashioned scale. And he said, we'll see how much this is actually worth. He's kind of muttering to himself. And so he puts a loaf of bread on the other side of the scale, and to his surprise, nothing happens. So he adds some more items, and to his complete dismay and shock, nothing else happens. Finally, he just blurts out, he says, well, that's all it's going to hold anyway. So, here's a bag. You can put your groceries in yourself and be on your way. And so with a tearful thank you, the woman took her groceries and left. The grocer later discovered that his scale, of course, was out of order. And as the years passed on, he would often wonder if it was just a coincidence. Why did the woman have that prayer already written out before he asked for it? Why did she come at the exact time the scale was broken? And whenever he looks at that little slip of paper that contains her prayer, he's always amazed because of all the things that she could have prayed. The one prayer she wrote down was this: please, Father, give us this day our daily bread. God's going to take care of you, believer. Trust in him. He feeds the sparrows, he clothes the fields, but how much more does he care for you? Well, thanks so much for taking a few minutes with us. It's always a joy. If you would like to make sure that you never miss encouragement in the middle of your week, we invite you to text MME to the number that you see listed on the bottom of the screen. And we'll make sure you receive encouragement right to your phone every Wednesday morning. Again, I'm Pastor Anthony DeRossi, lead pastor in Weston Chapel. Hope you've been encouraged, and we look forward to seeing you right here next week on Midweek Morning Encouragement.